know what kind of it had nearly 3,000 years without a major war. You know what kind of progress a people can have in a time like this? Now the war is going to come. But famine from Western Asia is going to cause migrations from Western Asia. And a people is going to come in from Western Asia called Hebrews, later called Jews. Africans are going to feed them, save them from famine. This is a footnote now. Later on, 1680 BC, a bunch of sheep herders going to invade Africa, called the Shepherd Kings later. The Hebrews that the Africans saved from famine, gave jobs to, befriended, slept with African women, sex politics again, haven't learned yet. Instead of joining the Africans against the invaders from the east, they joined the invaders from the east, became collaborators and clerks for the new rulers of Egypt. Now you think if Jesse Jackson knew this, he would apologize for using the word army? This is the first recorded betrayal of African people by the people called Hebrews, later called Jews. Okay? I'm saying you never had any friends, you haven't got any now. If you want any, look in the mirror. All right? They joined the enemies of Africa. And while the foreigners are ruling Africa, they become the clerks of the foreigners. And they produce the world's first wheeler-dealer politician, a man called Joseph, the provider. Then, as the Bible said, Joseph dies, Joseph's people dies, then a king arose who knew not Joseph. Now, let's locate the king who knew not Joseph. Let's look at the biblical side, then let's look at the pure history side. Who was coming to power now? King who knew not Joseph. From the south, every time North Africa is in trouble, a king comes from southern Africa to rescue. Moses came up, kicked out the foreigners, and brought the Seti kings to power. And from the Setis would come the mighty 18th dynasty. Now that the foreigners are gone, the Africans looked around and saw the friends of the foreigners. So what you still doing here? No, but the African in his customary generosity said that those of you who wish to obey African law may stay, though you betrayed me. Those who do not wish to obey African law will have to go. Now you have another version of the Exodus. You can take your version, I'll take mine. Those who decided they weren't going to obey African law left. Those who decided they would obey stayed. There was a 16-mile land bridge connecting Africa with Western Asia. So nobody had to leave by sea. Now, while there in Africa, they copied a lot of African folklore and mythology. There in Africa, they became a people. There in Africa, they entered world history. They copied the negative confessions. They extracted 10 of those confessions that became the 10th Commandments. An Egyptian prince who grew up in the house, the royal family, convinced them and gave them 10 of the 47. And I must say he did a good job because he picked the 10 best. All he did was to change the language around. You should read a book called The Coming Forth by Night in the Day that the Europeans call the Book of the Dead. No, read them for yourself. Don't take my word. Read the negative confessions that's put down by the Africans. These were nothing but the examination questions, the examination confessions at the Great Lodge at Luxor. You stand before the lodge and it's purification rites. I have not been guilty of murder. I have not been guilty of violating my neighbor's wife. I have not been guilty of thus and so. Or you, after the end of your teaching, you are telling your teachers that you are good enough to continue to pursue your studies at this great lodge. You're saying that I have not been guilty of thus and so. You know, he just changed the language around and said, I shall not. And you can pick up the 47 and you can find out exactly where he took the 10 from. I must say he did an excellent job of extraction. All right, now, be that as it may. The Bible gives him one Ethiopian wife. My research gives him 3. We call this a taste for chocolate, and we'll just go along with it. But that's all right. We still got that taste in spite of the color purple. That taste is still prevailing. Now, you came out of a society where there's no historical record of any man striking a woman. But in another time, we will discuss where did the woman strikers came from in this society among us, and how do we develop the habit here if we didn't have it over there. That's another lecture, a lecture for a sociologist other than a historian. But what we're trying to get at now is that there was a recovery of sovereignty. The foreigners are gone. Now we have another 1,000 years of comparative peace. Now the long summary. The 18th dynasty, one of the greatest dynasties ever to sit on any throne of any country at any time in the history of the world. This is the dynasty that finished driving out the last of the foreigners. At the top of the dynasty, a family, Thutmose or Thutmosis. Thutmosis the first, wounded in the fight against the foreigners. That's the father. His son, the second, married to his daughter, Hatshepsut. But he has confidence in the daughter and said that after he's gone, the daughter will be Pharaoh, not queen, and she shall be treated as a Pharaoh and given the respect of a Pharaoh. They hear him say this, but they don't believe it and have no intention of giving her that respect.